The Lexus ES has always been one of the best Lexus models to buy. It just has enough luxury, but at the same time, it's not the kind of luxury that breaks your bank. It's a sensible luxury car. It's always been that way, and up to 2025, it's still the same way. In today's video, I want to discuss this generation Lexus ES 2007 to 2012, because the prices for these have become a lot more affordable. And if you buy the right one of these cars and know what you're looking for and buy a good example, these can be, first, a very nice car to drive, very reliable, and don't cost a fortune. That's the best part about these. So in today's video, I'm going to walk you some, if you're going to be shopping for one of these cars, what to look for, what to avoid, and some of their common problems and everything in between right after this. Let's start under the hood. Things you should be checking under the hood of these cars. First thing is, these cars will have all the beauty covered. Now, here we've taken most of them off. They're very simple to take out. There's a little plastic piece you pop off in this area. Same thing on the other side. And then all push clips. And I'll show you, this is the original style push clip. If you see this style, just push the middle in and then pull the whole thing out. And then when you want to reset it, this middle part, push it in till it sticks out like this. Put the clip, just because if we're buying a used car, we want to put it back the way it was after we did our inspection. If we ended up not buying it, here we go, push it. So when you want to open it, push it all the way down. Now let's remove this panel so we can talk about it. Because if you're inspecting one of these ES350s, the first thing you will do is take all the covers off. All the beauty covers come off, including the engine cover, because that's when we look at the real story of this car. Start with the most basic check. Check all the fluid levels. You want to, ideally, with this car, you want to go test it when it's completely cold. Didn't even start for a minute. You want to know that? Right here, exhaust manifold. Put your hand here, of course, carefully. Now this car, we started it, we brought it here in the shop to start this video. I put my hand here, I feel the heat. It's that quick. Within less than a minute, you'll feel some heat here. You don't want to do that. This engine here is a 2G RFE. This can either be the best engine ever, or it could be the worst. If you miss this vital thing. So this car comes in two generations of engines. This falls into two. 2007, 2009 could have the second generation 2GR. 2010 and up more than likely has the third generation. Very difficult to tell with these. The first thing you want to check is pop the oil fill cap. If it looks like this, there is a higher chance that this is a second generation. But if you notice this opening right here is closed and it has two slits in it, that is definitely a third generation. Third generation will be more toward the later years of these, so you kind of can tell which are the better years to buy. But here's the important thing you do with these. Start them cold. And be standing here when you start it cold. If you hear any grinding noise, few seconds then it goes away, close the hood, shake the hand of the gentleman or woman selling the car, walk away. The end. These are notorious, second generation of this, notorious for VVTi gear problems. And it was a monumental cost to fix it. And if it gets really bad, it could actually start affecting the engine operation. So that is one thing you gotta check with these. You get one that's not rattling, keep up good oil changes, we're good. That's the first thing you check. Second thing, these are notorious to go through radiators. That's just one of their things. And the first place you will look at is right here, right at the top seam of the radiator. See, if you have all the covers, you won't see it. But right now, we're gonna look here. I don't see any pink residue. If you see pink residue there, that is a small leak. You buy a used car with a bad radiator, it's not the end of the world. You could negotiate the price based on that. It's an expense you gotta expend. And I'd rather, if you see an original radiator, the thing has a little bit of miles, you're a DIYer, preventatively change the coolant, change the thermostat, change the radiator. Not a bad idea. I'll tell you that. Next thing we're going to look at, this is when we get a little bit more advanced. This engine, although it's not super common on the ES for some reason, have a tendency of having an external head gasket leak. You don't want to buy one with that. That's the key thing. Because at this age, if they haven't developed one, likely they're not going to develop one. And that's anytime soon. You're going to want to actually look in this area for any trails of coolant. It's going to be hard to show it on camera, but look at the bottom underneath the intake manifold. Make sure there are no big trails of coolant. And ideally, if you have it like a borescope or inspection camera, send it underneath the intake manifold and look. Do you see coolant sitting there? Like you're going to go at it from this angle or from the other side, whichever is easier for you. You make sure we don't have coolant residue. You see that coolant residue all over the place? Walk away. And that's all. Unless you're going to DIY this, so this is engine on top. Engine checks out. We don't have cold start rattle. We don't have head gasket leaks. Check engine light is not on. You should, if you're going to go test the car, you should have a little scan tool. Here's a little tip. Even if you have a code reader, some code readers, see these cars, OBD2 cars, will have something called monitors. This is what the car is doing its own emission test. Here's a little tip. You go look at a used car, connect your code reader. You have no codes. Everyone will say, great, it's good, it's a good car, let's buy it and run. Don't do that. Because if somebody just erased the codes right before you came to look at the car, anticipating you might look at this, well, how do you know? Well, here's how you know. Check the monitors. Most of these little scan tools or whatever, it'll have a monitor readiness status. If all the monitors are ready, that means this check engine light has been off and they've driven this car and all the car is ready for emissions. Nothing has come up. But if it says not ready, somebody just erased the check engine light. At that point, I'd be wary why that is. That's another thing you check with these, because these are notorious for OCV valves getting clogged up. These two, there's two in the back. They get clogged up and they'll cause timing codes and folks will freak out about them. I get it. But these are notorious to clog up and stick intermittently. So this is another thing you want to check. Check for codes, because air fuel, I mean, as simple as air fuel ratio sensor, oxygen sensors, things could add up. They don't have anything chronic, but things could add up. So check that. Next thing we're going to look at, power steering, which is probably the worst Achilles heels of this car. The power steering system loves to leak, and the rack is, we'll talk about it in a little bit here. You gotta check the power steering system on these. And this is what makes this as a slight disadvantage compared to the next generation after it, 13 and up, but the 13 and up, too expensive, possibly out of our budget. You gotta check the power steering. And the number one thing you check, first, let's look at the fluid. Is it full? It is full. That's good. Make sure you don't just look at it, because sometimes these will stain and you'll see it as full. But when you actually look inside, it's not full. So always shake it and make sure you see the fluid level moving, that it's an actual level. Then this line, this return line, notorious to leak right here. You'll see this wet, you'll see all underneath here wet. Make sure you check that. That is very important that you check it. Here's another thing that if you see it, negotiate the price, wouldn't hurt, but don't be in a rush to fix it. This wire right here, all this does is open this flap to let more air in and close it. This is notorious to break on these. I'm actually surprised this one isn't broken. Don't worry about that. It doesn't, folks, it doesn't do anything. Let's just put it that way. But if you want to fix it, I get it. We're all car care nuts. We want our cars not to have a broken wire like that. But that's not a deal breaker. If you see that, this is not a deal breaker at all. Maybe negotiate the price, wouldn't hurt, but it's not a deal breaker. Otherwise, there's a lot of things under the hood that you will look at here, and you will look at 100,000 miles later, and oh, they're just there. Hello. Just say hi to them and never have to do anything with them. These cars don't have a lot of ABS problems, other than sensors and whatnot. The normal stuff, but it doesn't have anything chronic. That is the important thing. Brake fluid, maybe take a little test strip, test it, doesn't hurt. Another thing is they are notorious for two things. These connectors broken. They love to break on these. Only the front one. That's any 2G RFE. They'll love to brake, and that's their thing. The rears won't, but the fronts will. Another thing is you want to check is this VVTi line right here. See that? This line. If you look a little bit down here, trying to show you, you see like right in this area, I'm going to turn on a light. Right in this area, where my finger is. Right there, I hope you can see it. There's a little rubber section. This is a VVTi line that was notorious to leak on these and could just end the life of this engine early. Look at that area. Is it wet? If it's wet, that should be the top of your priorities. They actually make a solid steel line where it doesn't have that rubber section. If you own one, that might be a good upgrade, actually, if you're doing anything with the power steering pump. But that is a common upgrade on this that I'll leave you the part numbers right here, what you need to do that. And in this particular one, you got to pull the power steering pump to access the end of the line on the other end. That's another one. Make sure it's not wet. If you see it wet, negotiate the price on that and replace it right away. That's one thing I tell you. Lastly, and this is not just this car, this is any car. If you see all kinds of aftermarket wires running across and it just looks like a giant mess, close the hood and walk away. These cars, you want to buy them stock. You don't want to buy a modified one. You don't want to buy one that has every single accessory under the sun that is aftermarket. Bad idea. That's all I'll tell you. Another thing that's common with these, and at this point you might think this is not a good car to buy, alternators. It's not that the alternator is common, this is a wear and tear item, but just heads up, labor is a little bit involved with the alternator because you got to remove the shroud right here. You got to pull it out to pull the alternator out. It's very tight. And sometimes you have to take this top piece and move the radiator this way to make space because you have this protrusion right here. So if you're doing anything with the belt, accessories, or you have the radiator out, not a terrible idea to renew that alternator, but please buy an original one or buy a Denso. No aftermarket ones. And look at it. You'll see the sticker somewhere on the alternator here. It's hard to show you on camera, but this one has a Toyota sticker right here. It's right on the body of the alternator. If it doesn't say Toyota, if it says some random brand or says nothing, I'd negotiate the price because aftermarket alternators on this car, bad idea. This is terrible idea, I should say. Lastly, you notice the clamp. They're notorious to wear this one. It's a pristine example. The hood chucks. They love. Not a big deal. You can buy a clamp or replace them. They're inexpensive, but hey, we're trying to inspect the car, trying to get a good deal here. We're not trying to be unfair to the seller, but you know, things you got to fix with the car. You can look at them and negotiate price based off of that. Now that we've gotten a look under the hood, underneath the car, preferably underneath the car is important. Even if you can't do it, just get jack stands, jack something. Trust me, it is worth every moment. Let's talk about a few things in the test drive. Now, we're not going to take this for a test drive, but here's the thing with the test drive. Transmission. Very important that you check that. Here's how I want you to check this transmission. Drive it cold. That's very important that you drive it cold. Because the 6-speed transmission in this car, for the most part, is problem-free, except a few things. You'd want to investigate the service history of this car. Was this transmission fluid changed every 60,000 miles or changed before 100,000 miles? If not, I would be a little hesitant. I would just really dig into that transmission because these transmissions, they have a tendency of kind of harsh shifts, delayed shifts, lazy shifts. If you feel that in your test drive, you got to really pay attention to it. I'd walk away. These transmissions are not super expensive. They're a little bit labor intensive to replace, but they're not super expensive because they're generally reliable. But another thing you want to check with these, which is vital that you do, drive it at right around between 35 and 45 miles an hour, very light acceleration. What we're trying to do here is get the torque converter to engage because these, when you don't change the transmission fluid on time, they tend to develop torque converter shudder. And the way you'll feel it is if you accelerate hard and normal, it won't engage that torque converter and you won't feel it. So you want to drive between 35, 45, very light acceleration. You'll notice the RPM will all of a sudden dip. You're looking for a vibration or like a shudder in the body of the car. You feel that? Turn around, park it, shake their hand, walk away. And that's all I'll tell you. Because these are the first signs of neglected transmission fluid on these cars. Next thing in the test drive, struts. They are a little bit on the expensive side on these. First, never buy one with aftermarket quick struts. Just walk away, flat out. Ideally, we'd want to buy one with original struts that are not making a lot of noise. These tend to make noise over bumps. Very light noise because it's pretty well insulated inside, but you want to closely listen over bumps. You hear a little bit of noise, kind of like clicking over bumps, very light. Know that these struts, you may have to replace them at some point, and whatever you do when you replace them, never put aftermarket stuff. If you're going to do aftermarket, buy just a strut, disassemble the spring, and do it properly. Having said that, let's take a look inside. Let's talk about a few things inside that are very important that you do check. There is a compromise with these cars, which is either going to make or break the deal for you. These had a problem with dashboards cracking like this. See that crack? There's another one here. And they start kind of falling apart like this. They look very unsightly. Unfortunately, this is a common problem with these. And actually, at some point, they had a campaign where they were replacing these free of charge. That campaign is long expired and gone. This is going to be, it's going to be very difficult to find one. I mean, this thing has 80,000 miles. It's a pristine example. It needs very little. And look at the dash. This is the problem with these. And the other problem is the bigger problem than the cosmetic part. This dash will get super shiny in the sun. If you do get that, one option is replace the dash, very expensive. Second option is put a dash cover on top of it. You can find them on Amazon or eBay, very inexpensive. Put it on top. Now it won't kind of glare on the windshield and impair your vision. That's a suggestion. Second thing I want you to always check with these. First, the steering, that it moves and it works properly. See that? That's what you want to see. You want to see that this moves properly up and down, because repairing this, although it's not a deal breaker, can be expensive. That's one thing I want to tell you about it. Second thing is, make sure the AC works and works very well, because these, I don't want to say it's a chronic problem with them, but they can develop evaporator leaks at this age. Obviously, it's an expensive job at that point, but it's actually not a difficult dash to remove and do this job. I'll leave a video right here where we actually did one on the ES350, so for you to get an idea what that entails. But check the AC. AC doesn't work, you might want to get it checked out, because if it's an evaporator, things will get expensive. That's one thing you got to keep in mind. Otherwise, these cars don't have a lot of super chronic electronic stuff. I dislike sunroofs and I wish they never exist on cars, but this one does have one of them. Just make sure it works. That's one thing about them. But they're not known for a lot of gremlins. These steering wheel buttons sometimes will wear out. Super expensive to replace them, but you can actually buy like an imitation and just put it on. Better than the giant expense. Otherwise, we don't have much to worry about here. Just check everything, simple radio, whatnot, speakers, amplifier. That's another thing if you have a Mark Levinson. But for the most part, things are pretty reliable here, even though interiors hold up pretty well except the dash. Like, look at this seat. It looks in great shape, and this car has a very thick carpet. It's a very nice car to drive, actually. They drive super well, and they're very comfortable. Let's take a look underneath this car and things you want to check. Now, I get it. You're going to buy a car. You might not always have access underneath it. But folks, if you're buying it from a dealership, most dealerships will have a service department. Can you put the car up? I want to look at it. But when you look at it, you need to know what you're looking for. And if that's not the case, you're buying it from private, take a jack and jack stands. No harm in that. Hey, better safe than sorry. You better know what you're buying, other than find out later you didn't buy a good one. And speaking of the good one, remember when we talked about the radiator up top? If you get underneath this car, you want to look at the bottom as well. So if we come around here, look at the bottom seam of this radiator, right there. We also want to scan across the entire thing. Make sure we don't see pink spots. You don't see it, there's no coolant leaking, we're good. We know this radiator is good from the top tank and the bottom tank. Next thing about this car is rust. The body, I am not too worried about. These cars don't have a lot of body rust issues, but the main offender of rust with this car is the exhaust. I mean, this particular one, very clean, very low miles. Look at the exhaust. The flanges get really, especially this one, look at this one. Then this one has this flex pipe. You gotta make sure we don't have exhaust leaks because some of these exhaust components get very expensive. You can get them aftermarket. Fortunately, they don't last. If you get one with super high mileage, make sure catalytic converters are original or they are the original replacement, not aftermarket. The original cat will look like this. It'll have this shield on it. Same thing in the front one. You can actually see it from the top. You see aftermarket catalytic converters for these cars. For some reason, you replace it with an aftermarket one, I give it a year, max. They'll fail again. That's how these are. You replace them with originals, they're a little bit expensive. The biggest expense in this car exhaust-wise is this pipe. For some reason, this pipe is so expensive. And the biggest problem is if this flange is completely rotten, it won't seal and you still have a leak, even after spending a small fortune on this. That's one thing you want to check. But the biggest thing with these cars, two things, that this is the top things that you want to check, because these are the Achilles heels of this engine and the power steering system. Number one thing, this car actually has both of them. If you look right in this area, do you see how it is wet? Right here. Right in this area. You see how it's wet with oil? So when you buy this car and you look at that, oh, this is the power steering pump. Power steering pump is leaking. Not a big deal. You just missed it. This is not a power steering leak because in my entire career working with Toyota and Lexus, I don't think I've ever replaced a power steering pump on one of these other than the fluid leaked out and the pump ran empty for a long time. This is a front timing cover leak. 2GR is notorious for this. When you get into the later years of this generation, it gets less and less, and honestly, it is the luck of the draw. Let's put it this way. I've seen these leak at 50,000 miles, and I've seen a 300,000 mile one that doesn't leak. So look, if you have a giant leak where this is wet, there's oil all over the place, that's a pretty massive leak that's been like that for a long time. You see a little bit of wetness there? I mean, we're not buying a new car. We're not going to keep it for 30 years. We're buying a car on a budget that is nice, that is reliable. If you don't see a large leak here, negotiate the price. If you don't see any leak, that's even the best thing. But you see a very large leak, walk away. Because that front cover, engine out. Same thing. That's the problem. Next thing on the head gasket, if you get a chance to look underneath it, look at up here in this area right here. You want to make sure you don't have pink coolant trails coming down. And sometimes when they're really large, you'll actually see it right here. You see coolant dripping from here. You see that? Shake their hand. Have a nice day. Don't buy the car. These are some of their Achilles heels. And the next one, which is the number one thing that makes folks sell these cars, the rack and pinion. Let's take a look here at the rack and pinion. Let's take a look at this boot. Do you see this boot of the rack and pinion? Looks beautiful, dry, intact, wonderful. But that's how every single ES350 will be. The driver's side, no problems whatsoever. Passenger side, you see that? We have a problem. Here's the biggest problem with this car. This boot, that you can actually maybe see it from here better. There we go, you can see it from here. If you show them this shot. Do you see how this boot is ruptured? Completely at the bottom? Right there? Here's the problem. Folks will tell you, oh, it's just a boot that ruptured. Just replace it, few bucks, not a big deal. Yeah, sounds reasonable. But why did that rupture and this side is perfect? Here's why. That rack and pinion is leaking. It filled that boot with fluid because it's sealed with 2 clamps. Eventually, there's no more space. It ruptures at the bottom. This is a common thing with these cars. You will honestly, I'll just be honest, unless it was just replaced or was replaced a few years ago, you will rarely find one of these without a power steering rack leak. And they get so bad, like this one. This one is, oh, this is what, we just wiped it down before we started the video. They love to leak on this. And the rack and pinion on this car is just unbelievably expensive. North of probably close to $2,000. The rack alone is like $1,200 from Lexus. They don't have a reman. There's no other options. You buy an aftermarket one, you'll be doing this again and again and again. So that's one thing you want to really check. Super simple to check, even if you're not lifting this car. Turn this wheel all the way this way, and then this boot will be fully extended, and you can look through the wheel well underneath it. If you see it wet, or worse, like this one, ruptured, either heavily negotiate the price of the car or walk away. If you're planning to buy this car and you have no extra budget to spend anything on it, walk away. Fortunately, you're going to see this a lot. So I would use this actually as a negotiating piece. If you can drop the price, $700, $800, $1,000 even. It depends on which one you're looking at. You can drive on it like this. It's not an issue as long as the inner tie rods are not loose, outer tie rods are not loose. But you got to plan on fixing it, because you got to keep an eye on the power steering fluid, because it's going to start dropping. Eventually they get so bad, you're topping it off daily basically. So plan for it, budget for it. You just need to know what you're buying. That's important. Otherwise, with these cars, they are not notorious for huge disasters here, other than what we talked about here. Brake lines are coated. Unless this is a heavily abnormally corroded car, I'm not worried about brake lines. I'm not worried about fuel lines. The fuel tanks are steel in these. So if you see abnormal rust, like if you see stuff like this is just surface rust, not a big issue. But if you see an abnormal amount of rust where things are heavily corroded, be careful, because fuel tank leaks are possible. They're not common at all, but possible. Same thing with fuel tank straps. This does have a little bit of surface rust, but if you start seeing scaling and this is falling apart, you might want to replace it preventatively. But that's rust stuff. If you live in and outside of our area with rust, not a big issue. Other than that, you're looking at, check the brakes, check the tires, check the dates on the tires. Sway bar links in the front can be a thing, and they'll make a lot of clunking noises. They're just sway bar links. I wouldn't break a deal over sway bar links. You will have little stuff like that. Mufflers on really rusty examples can leak. They love to seam at the top, loves to break. You can't really see it, but you'll hear it. These are the things, these mufflers, a little bit expensive OEM, but not something that's going to completely throw off the deal. But check them, look around it. Do your regular used car checks, sway bar links, rusty stuff, things that are moving, shake the wheels left, right, regular stuff. But I don't think you will have a lot of big issues with this if you've went through this list, you checked all these items, because everything else there's not a lot of chronic stuff with these cars. If you buy the right one, and let me define the right one here, and kind of we'll talk briefly about the best years to buy for these. The right one is one that has had the transmission serviced, maybe spark plugs just replaced, 100 to 150,000 miles. Don't be afraid of miles of these as long as they're maintained. Price is right, tires are good, brakes are good, radiator is good, engine is relatively dry. Rack and pinion may be leaking. You negotiate the price and you start budgeting for this to replace it. That'll be the ideal one, because these cars, if you buy the right one, they are solid. And if you buy a non-rusty one, that's even the best one, they are solid. This is the kind of car that you can be going and going and going. And the only reason, in case you are looking out there for the best year to buy, by the way, is a 2010 to 12. These are the best years. Is a facelift. They did improve a few things here and there, especially with the engine. But you will see the 2010 to 2012 prices, and then 2013 and up, there's going to be a big jump in the price. You'll wonder, which 1 year makes that much difference? Yes, because 2013 and up does not have hydraulic power steering, it has electric, so all this problem is gone. And the engine is 100% third generation, other than the front timing cover leak, you're not going to have a risk of VVTi noise and rattling and whatnot. Yeah, the leak, maybe head gaskets are a lot better on the newer ones, but even the front cover leak's not as common. That's why there's a big price jump. But if you want to keep things within a budget, buy a good one of these. You're not going to regret it because these are beautiful cars. And that is this generation of the Lexus ES. Folks, do your inspection properly, know what you're looking for, take your time. I will say this one more time. You buy a good example of these cars, it'll be a beautiful, reliable car that will last you for a very long time. Buy the wrong one, however, and it's still a Lexus, it'll find its way to bankrupt you. Because when these cars are neglected, they will have issues like anything else. But here's the interesting thing about this generation. You will find a 50-50 mix. You will not find just okay examples. You'll either find a really nice one or you will find a horrendous one. There's no in between. So if you buy a nice one, you're good. You did your homework, you watched this video, you watched other videos, and you learned about the model. You buy a horrendous one, just sell it. It's okay. We all make mistakes. That's all I'll tell you, because you got to be careful with these. Neglect is a problem with these. Owners of these were either older folks that took care of them, really babied them, did proper maintenance, took care of them, or folks that it's a Lexus, it'll never break down. I just drive it and hope for the best. That's the two kind of owners that owned these back in those days. So do your homework, take your time, inspect them well. If you buy a good one, you will have miles and miles of cheap smiles. And that's what I'll say here. Folks, I hope this video is helpful and informative. I hope you learned something new. If you like it, consider giving it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing to the channel. Check out some other videos. Until the next video, folks, may the Lord bless you and keep you, and you have yourself a wonderful day.